Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen who are watching, media professionals. I am Dawood, D-A-W-D, last name Walid, W-A-L-I-D, Executive Director of Michigan Chapter of CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is a branch of America's largest civil liberties organization for Muslims here in the state of Michigan. And what we will be doing very briefly is going over some of our results for our annual civil rights report. And so I will be going first, then Director of Safe Spaces, Noor Ali, will be going on second, and then our staff attorney, Amy Ducoré, will be going on later on. And then we will avail ourselves for any questions or answers from those who are in the audience. So this year's report is titled Gaza the Rise and Bigotry Against Michigan Muslims. And before going specifically into the Michigan report, our national office also today is releasing its annual civil rights report. And in the 30 years of CAIR National, this past year has been the largest number of complaints in that 30-year history. CAIR National has received 8,061 complaints all throughout the country, and a vast bulk of these, or a large increase of these, nearly half of these happened within the last 3 months of 2023. And this is attributed to anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, and anti-Muslim rhetoric that has come about through the socio-political discourse since the siege upon Gaza. From CAIR Michigan's perspective, we have logged 495 complaints within that same time frame, and this is an all-time high in civil rights intake cases for CAIR Michigan since CAIR Michigan was founded in the year 2000. So the national results are the highest in the history of CAIR National, and this past year has been the highest in the history of the 23 years going back of the Michigan chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. In fact, CAIR Michigan is number 4 nationally in regards to intakes. The first, or the state with the most intakes, was California. Then we have Ohio and New York. But if we look at this per capita, as far as percentage per these states, Michigan is far above the national average in terms of civil rights complaints that were taken from our national office in comparison to some other states that are very highly populated, such as Texas, for instance. So this goes to show also that though there is a dense concentration of Muslims in Michigan and southeastern Michigan in particular, there was a sharp increase in anti-Muslim complaints that came into the Michigan chapter of CAIR. We at CAIR Michigan also directly link this increase in civil rights complaints into our office to anti-Palestinian and anti-Muslim rhetoric after the siege on Gaza began. As a matter of fact, within 3 months of the initial siege on Gaza, we saw in our office a 350% increase in comparison to the same time period the previous 2 years, 350% increase. Before we go into some of the particular cases, I want to mention some perhaps extreme examples in regards to what we believe is the socio-political rhetoric that has led to an increase of complaints against us, including hate crimes in our area since the siege on Gaza. Within a week of the siege on Gaza beginning, a Farmington Hills man, a white American, was arrested for making terroristic threats against Palestinians in Dearborn. He stated he wanted to kill all Palestinians in the city of Dearborn, and then he was arrested on terroristic threats. Less than a month ago, a Jewish American man in Florida was charged with federal crimes for threatening to kill us, the staff of the Michigan chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. And then as recently, we see in political rhetoric, Representative Tim Walberg, though this is not in our report, but this will illustrate for you the increased toxic language environment against Palestinians as well as Muslims, where Representative Tim Walberg, whose district encompasses Jackson, not too far away from us here in Canton, Michigan, basically stated that Gaza should be dealt with like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In essence, that Gaza should be nuked, and this would end the situation in Gaza. So this is the type of rhetoric that has led to the dehumanizing of Muslims here in the state of Michigan, which then leads to increase in complaints here at our office. A couple of suggestions in regards to helping curtail or slow down this sharp increase of anti-Muslim bigotry that has taken place here in Michigan and across the country. From our perspective in Michigan, number one is that the Biden administration needs to demand and enforce an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, which includes that if the Netanyahu administration does not capitulate to an immediate ceasefire, that we stop giving them military aid that is aiding and abetting war crimes, famine, cutting off food, water, the use of white phosphorus, which is of itself is a war crime. All these war crimes taking place, there's a direct connection between the Biden foreign policy, what the Netanyahu regime is doing, and anti-Muslim bigotry in the state of Michigan, number one. Number two, we call on government officials, local, state, and federal, including here in Michigan, to scale back the warmongering and genocidal rhetoric. Warmongering rhetoric has consequences for American citizens who are Muslims. Genocidal rhetoric has consequences. So these are the two things, at least, that we would hope could scale back some of the anti-Muslim bigotry and hate crimes that are taking place against Muslims in the state of Michigan. And of course, there have been other hate crimes that have taken place. The stabbings in Chicagoland shortly after October 7th, in which a young Palestinian American was stabbed to death. His mother was stabbed with serious injuries. The shooting of 3 Palestinian American Muslims in Vermont, also the attack that took place in Texas, in Austin, Texas, against a Palestinian American Muslim, and other threats that have taken place against Arabs and Muslims, including mosques and centers since October 7th. So with that, I will turn the microphone over for some brief comments from Noor Ali, our Director of Safe Spaces here at CAIR-Michigan.
So, oh, sorry. I need to redo that. Okay. Thank you so much, Brother Dawood. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Noor Ali. I'm the Director of Safe Spaces here. And as Brother Dawood mentioned, in the last 3 months of 2023, we experienced, triple the amount of casework that we had before that. And as a result, here at CAIR-Michigan, we worked on a slew of cases from schools and universities. For instance, within a month of the October 7th attacks, there was an incident at the Early College Academy in Ypsilanti where a substitute teacher had announced to her class of a sizable amount of Arabs and Muslims that Palestinians, it is in their nature to commit these sorts of crimes, and it is in the nature of Muslim men as well to commit these sorts of crimes. As a result, we were able to step in and ensure that substitute teacher would not be able to work again within the district. And the principal of the school sent out an apology to the entire class as well as parents, not just students, letting them know that it was obviously an oversight on their behalf to not already directly reprimand this teacher. And as a result of so many suppression of opinion instances across campuses in Michigan, myself and Sister Amy have gone and done multiple Know Your Rights presentations, letting students know about their rights to protest and what to do in the case of being victims of a hate crime. We've been able to do this at Michigan State, at U of M, at University of Michigan Law School, at Wayne State Medical School, and we are actively working with student groups across these campuses to ensure that they know about their First Amendment rights and their right to freedom of speech, of course. In another case, we have things going on with employers, with companies, with people who are also having their opinions suppressed, or people who are expressing their opinion too openly when it comes to hating Arabs and Muslims. We had a social worker just a few months ago who was posting on her public Facebook account that all Palestinians deserve to die. And for someone who works in a field such as social work, this is obviously extremely problematic in the case of her working with an Arab or Muslim client, and how that would be a very big case of a conflict of interest. We were able to step in and speak with the company that oversees these therapists and let them know that this is completely problematic behavior and that they should be taking action. And due to our meetings with them, we are also in the works of having an updated training for them. Oftentimes, a lot of places, whether they're employees, schools, or universities, their trainings do not include the nuances of people who are Muslim and what that looks like. So, the role of safe spaces in CAIR-Michigan in general is to advocate for Michigan Muslims through education, media, and the law. Another part of our work is helping incarcerated Muslims. So recently, as Brother Dawood mentioned, within the last week, we have filed a lawsuit with Jackson County Jail because they have not been providing an adequate amount of food for a Muslim incarceree. And in the last few months, we've had issues and instances where these correctional facilities are not providing prayer rugs and they're not providing Qur'ans. And in the case of women's only facilities, the women who are requesting hijabs are also coming into issues with that. So myself and Sister Amy, we've been able to step in on behalf of these incarcerated individuals and really advocate on their behalf. Another avenue that we've taken as an organization is providing bilingual content, which has broadened our influence and expanded the knowledge that's available for people across the state of Michigan. So we have successfully been able to produce a lot of our graphics in Arabic, specifically the ones when it comes to know your rights as protesters and how people are able to express their freedom of speech, specifically when it comes to Palestine. And we're very proud of the work that we've done and the work that we continue to do. So thank you to everybody who has been supporting us, and inshallah the rest of Ramadan goes well.
Thank you, Sister Noor. Okay, and Sister Amy, if you can address the media professionals in the audience.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Amy Ducouré. I'm the staff attorney here at CAIR-Michigan. I want to talk a little bit today about how the report really highlights the different types of work that we were doing pre-October 7th and then after the siege on Gaza, because I think the report does a good job of outlining the types of things that Michigan Muslims were facing and how that changed in light of what happened after October 7th and as Brother Dawood said, a lot of the political rhetoric that followed that from our elected officials, right? So prior to prior to October 7th, we were really engaging in resolution of a lot of our cases. At that time, we had about 20 open cases that we were able to resolve successfully. Those cases included a case that was filed on behalf of a Muslim woman who was denied a Ramadan accommodation in 2019 and was terminated because she asked to eat lunch later. And we had filed federal litigation in that matter. And that resolved favorably for our client and led to an award of monetary damages for our client. And it led to overall policy changes within the private company that she had been working for. We also saw the resolution of a 3-year lawsuit against the City of Detroit Police Department that involved a police officer making highly Islamophobic and comments about 3 Muslim men and then arresting them without probable cause, leading to their false arrest and their detention in the Detroit Detention Center for 3 days. That case also resolved itself in a very positive way and led to monetary damages to our client. Overall, last year, we provided about more than 900 hours of free legal services. We never charge our clients for legal services. So we provided over 900 hours of free legal services. That's a direct monetary benefit to the Muslim community of over $350,000 if you had to pay for those legal services out of pocket. And that resulted in over $200,000 in monetary damages to our clients, not to mention the cases that are still ongoing and those cases that don't require damages, or even the legal and administrative advocacy work that we do on behalf of individuals who have travel difficulties or who have electronic seizures at the border. We're also still doing a lot of representation of places of worship when it comes to adverse zoning. And 2023 was no different with that. We saw adverse application or discriminatory application of zoning laws against masjids in Ann Arbor, Lodi Township, Ypsilanti, and Sterling Heights last year. So we were still heavily engaged in that type of work as well, and we're able to resolve the majority of those cases, with one of them still outstanding and hopefully resolving itself here pretty quickly within the next week or so. So that's kind of the work that we were doing before October 7th. In 2023, we saw CAIR-Michigan doing a lot of different work too. We released our first ever investigative report where we released the results of a 2-year investigation against racial profiling along 8 Mile border inside the city of Detroit by the Ferndale Police Department. That report and the investigation that CAIR-Michigan did led directly to the Department of Justice's involvement in opening a formal investigation against the city of Ferndale for their what we think are discriminatory tactics in policing along that border, that corridor between Ferndale and the city of Detroit and Oakland and Wayne counties. We also issued our first request for proposed legislation to some representatives that will provide accommodations to Michigan Muslim college students when it comes to requesting time off for religious holidays. And we're very excited about that legislation moving forward. But after October 7th, our focus necessarily had to change. And when you read the report and you read the data, what you'll see is, for the most part, the focus after October 7th was on curing hate crimes and direct acts of Islamophobia in public, and issues, as Sister Noor said, with schools. There were a lot of issues, not only with colleges and universities, but K through 12 schools. Very early on, CAIR-Michigan had to step in with some schools in Oakland County, including Bloomfield Hills High School, for disciplining students who had engaged in peaceful protesting and walked out, and then wanted to treat those students as being investigated under a quote-unquote threat assessment because their advocacy for Palestine was treated as being inherently violent. And we all know that that's an Islamophobic trope, an Orientalist trope about, whose behavior is acceptable and what kind of speech is acceptable. And we were able to step in and guide those parents and get every student back in school. One of the things that happened after 9/11 or after October 7th is that our staff engaged in more than 20 panels that included panels at colleges and universities, trainings at masjids, training at universities, as Sister Noor said, about what are your rights and when it comes to advocacy for Palestine. So between October 7th and December 7th, so you're talking the first 60 days after the siege on Gaza, CAIR-Michigan stepped in and provided more than 20 trainings and talks about advocacy for Palestine, whether it was at public school, whether it was on your social media, whether it was on, regards to your employment. And another thing that we did is doxing was a huge deal. So we created a whole bunch of new resources to tell people about how to protect themselves from online doxing. And those materials are available online. And those are the materials that Sister Noor was talking about that have been translated into Arabic to provide better ease of access to some of our constituents here in Michigan. But along with the doxing came harassment, came threats. So we represented victims of hate crimes. We helped people get personal protection orders. We engaged with the FBI to help them investigate crimes of threats and terroristic threats via telephonic means being made against Michigan Muslims for doing nothing more than showing their support for Palestine. So these are all, some of the ways that we've assisted after October 7th. With regards to what took place. So a lot of it had to do with schools, direct victim representation for hate crimes, and providing educational resources and materials and trainings to individuals. And the work related to October 7th is still ongoing. We're getting calls every day with regards to people being victims of hate crimes, being victims of employment discrimination, being victims of discrimination at schools. There's a lot of talk about different universities, and I won't name them here today, creating adverse policies that is aimed at silencing students. One of the things that CAIR-Michigan did very early on at places like Wayne State University, Michigan State University, and Oakland University was review draft model policies or draft model resolutions that the students then utilized to help push their agenda forward within the universities through their student senate process. And that's a service that we've always provided. We've done a lot of coalition work last year. Brother Daoud did coalition work with the Michigan Catholic Conference. We've done coalition work with ACLU, ADC. It's something that we do. We create coalitions. We work together to push our rights, to empower Michigan's Muslims. And 2023, in my opinion, was a banner year, honestly, for the work that CAIR-Michigan did with regards to empowering Michigan's Muslims. And if you get a copy of our report and see the kind of work that we've been doing. And I think Brother Daoud said we're going to open the floor for questions. If there's anybody listening, the media or individuals who have any questions about the report itself or anything that was said here today.
Thank you very much, Sister Amy, for your very thorough comments. Again, thank you also, Sister Noor. So we'll give anyone who is watching a moment to ask questions. I can't tell online with the viewing audience if they're media professionals or not. We've already received some emails to some media professionals for follow-up interviews. And if there's a media professional who is watching this in its entirety, you can reach out to our office to get any further comment or clarification in regards to our report. Also, we will be posting, God willing, very soon, if it's not already been posted, our civil rights report that you can see online at cairmichigan.org, Michigan spelled out. And also, let me say this in conclusion, if there are no comments, and if there are constituents watching this, as you heard, the amount of complaints that we've gotten have gone up exponentially here at CAIR-Michigan, right? The workload has gone up tremendously, and we have a modest staff here in our office that is tasked with representing and assisting Muslims throughout the state of Michigan, not just in Dearborn or not just in the city of Detroit, but stretching to Jackson, to Grand Rapids, other parts of the state where we've taken direct cases and even drove to meet with officials, law enforcement officers that have dealt with cases in the past year. So with saying that, we are in the last 10 days of Shahr Ramadan. This is the month of fasting, the month of prayers, the month of reciting Quran. It is also the month of giving. And in order for us not only to continue to do our work, but really we need to increase our capacity. We need your assistance as a community to support us in our very vital work. And we forecast throughout the CAIR network that as this issue in Gaza continues to linger and it continues to take place, and we saw just happen recently with the bombing that took place in Damascus, and with the presidential cycle about to ramp up, and as rhetoric heats up, where we see politicians running for president or a senator or a congressman will use the Muslim community as a political football to score cheap political points. We don't forecast any decrease in the amount of complaints coming to our office anytime soon. So we need your support as we are on the front lines. We are the one and only Islamically based organization that strives to do its advocacy and defend religious liberties according to not only the American law, but the sacred law within the parameters of the sacred law of Islam. We are the only organization in the state of Michigan. And we're not saying this as boasting, it's just a fact, right? And so with that, we need your support. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Man naqasa sadaqat min mal." Giving and sadaqah shall not decrease your wealth. So with that, my beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, as well as in humanity, please visit us at cairmichigan.org, and you can make a donation on there. You can find our report, as well as keep up with our events by our website and sign up for our e-updates. Follow us on X, on Instagram, as well as Meta. And if you ever need for us, after the month of Ramadan, obviously, to come to your Islamic center and or cultural association, then you may contact us through our website, and we would be glad and more than happy to come and give you a presentation about our work, be it anti-bullying, be it about knowing your rights at the polls, know your rights as a voter, know your rights when dealing with law enforcement. As you maybe saw just recently, what took place in Oklahoma, where our CAIR Oklahoma chapter had to get involved in regards to an Egyptian American who had the FBI come to her home, try to question her about her social media posts about Palestine. Like, those things happen. People being harassed, flying back in the country from Umrah, and things like flying back from Iran or Iraq from Ziyara. We get these sorts of complaints in our Office of Harassment by Customs Border Protection, the FBI, and other alphabets in law enforcement. So with that, we will conclude, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you, protect your loved ones, accept all of your good deeds in fasting during Ramadan. And we ask Almighty God, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, to protect our brothers and sisters and give them quick relief in Palestine, as well as in Sudan and in the Congo and other places in the world in which our brothers and sisters in faith are facing calamities. Thank you very much. God bless you. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.